Welcome to News with a View, hosted by me, John A. Costa. This is a conservative-leaning podcast, but I do take in the facts from both sides. If it makes sense, it makes sense. If it's allowed under the good book, then it's allowed. When it's in question and it goes to the Supreme Court, that's it. I deal mostly in federal issues, but I do go into state issues that could have tentacles that reach out. So other states jump on the bandwagon and so forth. I'm a conservative. I'm a Republican. I'm not MAGA. And I do take in, like I said, both sides of an issue. Today is June 23rd. This is episode 86 of my series of podcasts. I have not had a podcast out in, I'd say, close to 8 to 9 days. There was a lot of things going on, but not so major, and it was going back and forth, and it was just a little chaotic. Plus, I've been sick. So I've been taking it easy and recuperating here a bit. But today, the Supreme Court has come out with some interesting decisions. Some I agree with. Some I'm kind of on the fence with. They all went down, the political spectrum. So, for the most part. The first one, the Supreme Court rules green card holders not guaranteed re-entry into the United States. So if you're a green card holder, which makes you like a permanent resident, you're not a citizen, but you're given 99% of the rights of a citizen, except for voting. The interesting ruling by the Supreme Court, and this was a 6-3 decision, stated that border agents can base their stopping, detaining, and then putting these people in detention centers with no clear and convincing evidence of a crime. Now, you say, yeah, how can this be? And I'll question that too. I'm a little surprised at this ruling. I knew it was out there, but I kind of figured that these people being green card holders and residents of the United States, you'd have your day in court. Meaning that if you were charged with a crime, you're coming back to the United States, you're going to have to face that. And then a determination on whether or not your character is so bad that you at the end of your sentence, or if the court says guilty and we're going to suspend sentence, or we're going to no sentence, no prison time, but you're guilty of this crime, and as such you can be deported. I was a little surprised that no clear and convincing evidence was needed. This was a case that was going back quite a few years ago. Muk Chow Loy, a Chinese national who was accused of selling counterfeit merchandise. So it's a copyright infringement and, so forth. $300,000 worth in New Jersey. And he left and then came back. And in 2012, he's been here since 2000, has been a green card holder since 2007, left and then came back in 2012. I don't know exactly when he had left, but it was within the time frame allowed for you to leave and then come back, because a lot of green card holders must come back before a year is over, and you can only go abroad. There's a lot to do. It's just not, come and go. So when he came back, the immigration border police said, no, you can't come in. We're going to detain you and we're going to hold you for deportation. A federal judge ruled that he was allowed to re-enter temporarily the United States, face the accusations in court, and let's see where it goes. He pleaded guilty in 2013, but there wasn't a clear decision then made on the fact of that they held him and were trying to deport him. So this case went to the Supreme Court, went all the way up there. The court ruled that now the border immigration agents have broad leeway on deciding whether or not you can enter the country again. I read over the briefs are unbelievable with this, but the basic policy is that this was a criminal case, and as such, he would be allowed the right to defend himself and mount a defense. The government's claim that, if he was here, he could do that, but since he's not here and he's just showing up on our border again, we could just send him away. And the federal judge, I think, made the right decision by saying, you got to let him. If he wants to come back in, he's going to be arrested and he's going to face these charges. So I think the federal judge was correct in his allowing him to come in. Hey, if you come in, understand, bracelets go on you and you're going to face these charges. So not sure what the underlying reasoning here was. I'll look into this. This ruling just came out today on Tuesday. And I got to look at it because it just doesn't, feel right. And I've said before, I think the Supreme Court is great. I think the Trump administration is doing a great job, considering what they've been dealing with. The idea that kind of jump over the Constitution for people that have those rights. I know you're not a citizen. but you are a resident here, and the green card, we do have a certain amount of jurisdiction over you. So, and I'll get into that a little bit further in this program. The idea now that green card holders really have to think twice about leaving the United States, because if you have a DUI that has not gone to court yet, if you have a DUI and it has gone to court, and you were found guilty and you did your 6 months or 3 months or whatever, that's going to be brought up when you come back into the United States, and you could be denied. You could be turned around. And if you want to argue it, you'll be put in detention, and then you got to go through the process. And that is just a very, very thin line of, your Fourth Amendment rights, your Sixth Amendment rights. I mean, there's a lot going on here. I mean, there's a slew of amendments in here that just kind of got pushed a little bit. And as I said before, I'm all about the Constitution. And this would give me the mindset now of what's going to happen anytime this week. Because this is it, folks. Birthrights is going to come up. In another case by the Supreme Court, and that was listened to, it was the Helms-Burton Act. And I remember when they did this. This was in Jesse Helms, and I knew it was a representative named Burton. Didn't know his name was Dan Burton. He was in the House of Representatives. And this was a bill that would allow people to sue companies that used assets that were used by the Cuban government. So let's say in 1961, I had a bus company over there, and you gotta go a little bit different. I had a hotel. I was a hotel. And now that hotel got taken away from me because it was taken over by the government of Cuba, and might have been given to someone else to run, and some other company, another foreign asset, is now making money from my property. Well, what this now does, it allows, the Supreme Court said that you can sue individually. You could sue individual companies. You don't have to sue the whole, you don't have to sue the government of Cuba. You can go after the XYZ company of France, of England, of whatever, Canada, Mexico. You can go after those companies now. Because under international law, a lot of these countries had sovereign immunity. They confiscate property, and that's the end of it. You nationalize it. You're done. That's it. So what this now does is allows people, and it would basically, to me, it will be farmers who own large farms, and now sugar refineries who are buying their sugar cane are making money from that property that was my property, and now I can go after them. So this has some real tentacles on it, as I like to say. It goes out a little bit further than what you would think. And yeah. So now these companies, could be liable for damages. And this act was meant to really grind on the Cuban government. Remember, we've had, embargoes against them and trade restrictions and everything else. So this kind of just, when that act was made, put a little bit more teeth into it. But now the Supreme Court said, yeah, you can go after those other companies. It's okay. Now, you might have to go into those, you're going to have to sue in the United States and then go over to those things, and that's another thing, And Cuba will be back under our control again by the time that happens anyway. Just saying, the way things are going there. But it was another interesting decision. Probably tonight I'll start reading into some of this. I just, the one that I'm really waiting for is the birthright. And there's been a lot of talk and a lot of things, people saying it's not going to happen. It's, the Supreme Court will rule against it. On the face of it, you could be right, but there could be carve-outs in this that, the Supreme Court can make a decision that says this class of people, this class of people, this class of people are protected. People that have no status or had no status. No, they don't get those protections. So people with, and now I'm going into, I'm leaving this and going into birthrights. So people that were here on TPS, people that were refugees, people that we had invited into the United States and gave them, protection. Absolutely, those people have, their children are American citizens. They might not be, but their children are. Just by us having the jurisdiction over that family, over those people. And that to me is right here. But to have jurisdiction is one thing, and to have sovereignty is part of that. And when I say sovereignty, I'm saying when those people came in, they said you're going to be here. You came here willingly and freely, and you are okay with settling here. Some of these people were placed here, like the Samoans. They were placed here. They didn't say, hey, I want to go to America. We got them out of there because they were going to be killed. And we put them into places and said, hey, if your homeland becomes secure again, you can go back. And a lot of them applied for citizenship and went through the process and did what they did. But they had agreed to come here. They could have left, but they had agreed to come here. And I have no problem with that. My problem with birthrights given to people that came here illegally, no. And when I say illegally, they've had no interactions with our immigration people. We have no idea they were here, other than they had a child here. What was your reason to come here? Sovereignty, when you come here and you go, I'm applying for protection. I'm applying for this. I have left my country and I'm coming here because I can't go back to that country. It's not safe. It's not, whatever the reason is. That is allowable under immigration policy. Once you make that statement and we let you in, barring if you lied or, something, there are caveats in there. But come on in. But if I don't know you were here and I don't know what your background was and you came in here but never announced to our government your intentions of coming here, well, how do you make a legal act? How do you make an illegal act legal? Just by putting your big toe? It's like if I had my front door locked but my window open and you climbed in through my window and sat on my couch and go, I'm in your couch now. I'm part of your family. Gotta love me. And the police came and they go, no. Came in through your window. Nothing we can do here. Bye. You think that's right? Because that's exactly what has taken place. People that came here with TPS and the president decides you're no longer covered under TPS and you had children here. Well, when you had those children here, you were covered by TPS and you were given, your children have the rights to be American citizens. End of story. Should be no debate on that. I can't have a debate on that. Because we had jurisdiction. Parents don't. They don't have a right to be a citizen unless they applied and go through the hoops. The children can stay. You got to go. If that's what it comes down to. But you could take your children with you. You're not being separated from them. Well, we're holding you if you want your children held with a responsible individual or agency or something. Have at it. If you want your children with you, fine. It's not a jail. It's a detention center. And, but this is the issue. And the Supreme Court could make a ruling to say that, hey, these class of people are all covered under the Constitution. There's no problem with it. Everything is bueno. But illegals, not so much. Not so much. So I think in that sense, there could be a consensus of the court going that way. And when I say consensus, it will probably either be 6-3 or 5-4, if it goes that way. I do not agree with President Trump, his saying that this would be an insult to the American people. This would make us look terrible. If the Supreme Court rules against him on it, don't care how it makes you look. This is what our Constitution survives any president, any political party as it stands right now, and will continue. And that's what's important. Our dignity or anything like that, ridiculous, I say. But this is going to be a biggie. And, to me, and I've said this before in many of my other podcasts when it comes up to President Trump's promise it's a win-win for Trump. If he wins this, he looks great. If he loses it, he didn't lose it. The Supreme Court made a bad decision against him, blah, blah, blah. it's a win-win. He can't lose. It has nothing to do with his credibility. It has nothing to do because he punted the ball. And he's just on the sidelines. And I said this was a very, very smart move by President Trump. Very, very smart move. He's a very, very clever man. You think you're 3 steps in front of him, and you are not. If you think you're in front of him, he's already behind you, waiting for you to make that wrong turn. Smart man. Smart man. And he's intuitive. He reads a room. Yeah, he's arrogant. Yeah, he has an ego. Sure, he had an eye for women. Yeah. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west, too. What is it? Yeah. Dinosaurs are big on the top, fat in the middle, and skinny at the end. That, too. It's meaningless. All right. In another strange decision by the Supreme Court, Damon Landau out of Louisiana. He was in jail, and he's a Rastafarian. And you know their dreadlocks are part of their religious whatever. Who am I to judge on that? You know, the Hasidim have the beards, the Muslims have the beard. You know, the Hasidim also have the curls, and so, who cares? I care less. You just don't force it on me. But I'm good with it. So he was incarcerated, and he was in one jail. And he got where they respected his religious, and they said, "We're not going. You don't have to cut your hair. You know, keep your dreads." And he had grown them for over 20 years. And but he got moved to another jail, and they turned around and said, "Everyone gets their hair cut here." Plopped him down. And cut his dreadlocks off. He sued the federal government. Well, he made a claim that his constitutional rights were violated under, the First Amendment and religious freedom. Louisiana state had said, yeah, they probably should not have done that. And there was a lot of sympathy from the courts. And a lower court ruled that he was unable to sue. And that even though he claims his religious freedom was violated, there was no basis. You couldn't sue the jail. You couldn't sue the jailers who cut his hair. So this went all the way up to the Supreme Court because a lower court said, no, tough luck. You can't sue. And this went up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ended up saying that the deal that the federal has is federal to state, not state to federal. And this was really about almost like contract law. And I found it, I'm going to look this whole thing up. Mr. Landor, attorney, ran into some problems with the Supreme Court on defining exactly what was the reason for the suit. And the courts ruled against this. They said no. So whenever the Supreme Court makes a decision like this, then you're going to have states that look at it now going, me too. If I can cut this guy's hair, then I can make everyone, shave their heads if I want to. And you can't say religious. Now, remember, when you go to jail, a lot of your rights are taken away from you. So, but your religious rights are never taken away from you. So I don't know where in the grounds of filing for this relief, where this lawyer went wrong. What did he do that he should not have done? Because now this gets, in the books. And this could have a lot of other factors. It's an interesting argument, but one that you just kind of figured. I understand why the state says, hey, we're tickled pink that you can't sue us over this, because the guy could have asked for $10 million. But money being penalized for violating someone's rights is immaterial. Did he have a right to have his hair the way he wanted it, like that, under a religious belief? Not just because, hey, I want it stacked up in a point, and they go, no, you're cutting it. But if you said, hey, my religion, and you can prove that, and refs there, and they can. It's there. I find it a little difficult to get there. And I said before, I try to look at both sides of a story. I try to look at, and sometimes you have to push away the emotional, because it's not about emotion, it's about the words. They all have a meaning. Every word in there has a meaning. That meaning might not be what you and I use across the kitchen table, but in contract law, and that's what this is, the contract, it means something. And you have to look up what was the meaning, what was the intent, what was, the idea, what was the genesis. That one I don't understand. And as much as I do with the green card, I don't understand. Get me there. Hearing some of these things, whereas before they're saying that, the Supreme Court will never rule against birthright. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that they're not going to be afraid to tackle that. And they just might say, hey, no, it says what it says, and that's what it says, and that's what it means. End of story. But if that was the case, they would never have agreed to hear it. They would have said that There's no reason for this to be brought to the Supreme Court. It's been vetted. We have decisions on this that go all the way back. Roe v. Wade was not a constitutional issue. Birthrights. Yeah, because there's language about it, and that's what's important. All right, I've been talking for 35 minutes. Anyone that has joined my podcasts in the last week, thank you. I have a lot of stuff out there, and not doing it for 7 days or how long it has been, and I didn't even look it up today. I was feeling well enough today to get out there and do it. And I appreciate everyone who leaves a comment, even Bob in New York, no matter how many times he's wrong. I do like his comments and his little digs and his innuendos, but that's part of the game. So please leave a comment, like and subscribe. I'm going to be making some changes. I'm not going to be doing a podcast again unless the Supreme Court comes out with something, and I want to do it. I'm not discussing the Iranian thing because I don't know if any of us really know what's going on with it. Markets were a little shaky. They'll get over. There was a lot of profit taking. Oil is coming down. Oil should be about, probably by next week, barring any conflicts, should be about $68 a barrel, which it was before all this started. Of course, our prices go right up at the pump, but when these prices come down, that they lag 4 to 6 weeks. So, who knows? Who knows? And people have a right to question what the government is doing. As a matter of fact, it is expected of a citizen to question their government. No problem with that. Ask good questions. Have good reasons other than, I hate Trump. He's orange. He's a baby. He's this, he's that. Come up with good reasons. Because a lot of the reasons I'm hearing aren't good reasons. So, all right, everyone. Be safe. Please give to a charity if you can. Make sure that charity is a registered charity and you know the charity and you're not a victim trying to help victims. Not interested in that? Please think about giving to a food bank. We have been a little lax on that in the last month, only because of situations going on here, and we'll make up for it. Food banks are very important. They actually help people right then and there in your community, and you're helping people, and it's a nice way to go. Say a prayer. Prayer does work, even when a Democrat tells you it doesn't. So with that, everyone, be safe, be well. Probably the next one I'm going to be doing on is more fraud cases going on, because that's our tax money, and that affects everyone. All right, everyone, be safe, be well, as I fade to